Just to make sure when you're doing this project, everything is copyright free photography and vectors. Everything must be something that you created yourself. You must include the Tech Ed logo, the Eddie's logo, the Halton District School logo, the date and the time of the event, and all the details are on theeddies.ca. So please go to the website and make sure that you have all the details. The poster that I'm going to be showing you how to create today should have all of the details as well on it. Very first thing, open up the logos. Here are the logos that I've downloaded from the website. One thing to note is they are not grouped. Really important, what you're going to want to do is group them. Otherwise, you're going to start moving the individual pieces around, which can get really annoying. I'm going to highlight over top of just the one area, and Control G on a PC or Command G will join it. Now it is all a group if I want to move it around. Again, Control G or Command G. And this way, when I bring them into the document, it's a lot easier to work with. And then Control C, Command C to bring it over. I'm going to hold Shift and scale it and just move it into place. Control C, Control V, paste it in. I'm holding Shift and I'm grabbing from the four corners because I want to scale it in proper proportion. If you don't do that, you're going to stretch it and it's not going to be in proper proportion. So you want to make sure that you're always holding Shift and only scaling from the corners. And I'm just going to be moving it down to the bottom. And the Halton District School Board logo, same thing, Control C or Command C, Control V, Command V to paste it. And again, I'll just put it at the bottom. What I want to do is I want to recreate the black one. One thing to note is I am going to change the background color. If I go over to my layers, so this is the create new layer. You want to click on this to create that background layer. And then what you want to do is make sure that you can see everything. A great fast key is if you go to View, Fit All in Window, it'll show everything in your window. I can double click on here. Let's say I'm going to pick a black value. You can also work with Pantones. Pantones are great because then you're getting the actual color value. And right now I have everything to snap. So right on the intersect point, I'm going to go from one area to another. Illustrator does not have a paint bucket fill the way that Photoshop does. If you want to change your background without actually having to create a shape, what you could do is go up to File, Document Setup, hit Simulate Colored Paper, double click on the swatch, and you have your turnbuckle of all these different colors. Or you can adjust your grayscale slider, your Apple swatches, your spectrums. There's different ways that you can adjust your color. You'll color pick. You can, for example, drag your swatch down to the bottom. And then I'll close this down. And I've chosen a pink color and then hit OK. So you'll see my background has now turned into a pink. It has flooded it all the way through. I prefer to work with shapes. I just find it easier to manipulate the background colors a lot faster. But the downside to shapes is you have to make sure that you are flooding it all the way across the edge or you will get a white line around it. The next thing that I want to do is I want to create a square of some sort. I'm going to click away because if I don't, then I'll start drawing on that actual shape again. And I'm going to pick a gray. Using a shape tool, if you hold it down, there's a rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse tool, which is circle or oval, polygon tool, star tool. I'm going to pick the rectangle tool. And if I hold Shift, it'll be a perfect square. And if I let go of Shift, I can actually make a rectangle. So right now I have my rectangle as a gray fill. I do not want to have a fill, so I'm going to hit None. And I can go and pick a gray stroke. Right now, if I click away, it's really hard to see the stroke outline. What I'm going to have to do is bring up the stroke. And right now it is at 6 points. If you wanted to, you could play around with the different shapes of the stroke. So let's make that really large so you can see. And you can see that it is not a perfect square anymore. It's playing around with the different shapes of the strokes. Next thing we have to do is we have to type in Eddie's Film Festival. If I wanted to see what font I used for this, I can go Window, Type, Character, and I'll get my character box. Right now it is Aurea, which is a font that I've downloaded from the internet. And I'm just going to put this up here for the time being. And I always want to make sure I'm clicked away from this document. And using my text tool, you can create a text box or you can just click and start typing. And right now I cannot see it because it is in black. If I select it, I can change the color up here, or I could have changed the color over here. As you can see, it now went blue. I'll go back up to the top and make it white. This size is very small, so I can go over to the character box on the side here. I can also click on the top whenever I'm on my text tool, and it will bring up my character box at the top. And you can adjust it to 72. You can even type in your number, and you can use the move tool over on the side, and you can move it down. If I want to change the font, back up at the character box, I can click on the drop down and it'll give me a preview of all the different fonts that I have downloaded. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use Optima. And then let's say I'm going to add more. So I'm going to make a different line. And there's many different ways that you can change your color. You can change it up at the top. You can change it by double clicking on the side here as I showed you, or you can click over on your colors. You can even click on your swatches. There's a lot of different ways that you can change your colors in Illustrator. And again, I'm going to go up to my character. I will change the font. And right here, this is if we're working with a paragraph. This is your spacing between your line height. I will move this over here so you can see. I will play around with the different values. Here, this will be the spacing in between each letter. So you can always adjust your tracking and your kerning on here. This is stretching, so it's stretching it out. This will be stretching it in height. So here is a vertical stretch. Here's a horizontal stretch. If I wanted to make it all capital, I can click on that. I can underline. I can put a strike through it, although I don't really recommend those. And here is uppercase, but with small caps. I can make it squish together or spaced apart. So that's how to work with that. If you wanted to put a stroke around it, you can double click. I've added a stroke. I'm going to make it quite large so you can see it. And then if you decide you don't like it, you can always just hit the red line. Okay. Let's say that I want to align these so that they're both flush. I can hit Shift and click the two of them, and then I can go up to Align. And if your Align isn't here, you can always go to Window, Align, and your Align box will come up. If I click on the horizontal Align left, they will both click horizontally left. This one will click horizontal center and horizontal align right. You want to make sure you get into the habit of aligning everything. If you want it to be on the same plane, It's nice and clean that way and it doesn't look random. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy over aspects of this poster. Since I've already spent all the time aligning everything, okay, so here it goes. I typed in the date using the text tool, May 14th, and I can select it with the white selection tool, or even you can highlight over top with the text tool. Change your color. You can play around with your character. Another thing that you can do, because it's all vector, if you wanted to scale it, you can click on the black selection tool and you can actually scale it manually if you prefer not to type it in. That's one nice trait about Illustrator. If you want to make sure that it's scaled with proper proportions of that font, you want to make sure you hold Shift when you're scaling. And since I already have this, I'm just going to delete it. And that's pretty much what I did, is I just typed in all the different fonts, and we're actually missing one of the text here. We're missing words. And moving it up. What I want to do is align, I'll just move it over a bit, align the S with the L on a horizontal plane. So I right aligned it. I clicked on the two of them and I hit right align. If I wanted it left justification, then it will have everything shift to the left, but I'd like to have it aligned to the right. And then I click away. These little nodes here is if I want rounded edges. I can click and I can drag my edges inside, and then I would have a rounded edge poster. On your circles here, if you want to adjust them, you can double click on them, and then here it gives you the different values if you wanted to scale the corners, scale and stroke effects. I'm not going to bother with any of those, but this is the details for that. I also aligned all the text here to make sure that these had proper alignments, and I left aligned it.